Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Smart Cities and Communities Positive Energy Districts workshop. We are all very happy to be here, and we have today 5 different projects being showcased in this webinar. From the Making City projects, we have 4 different topics. So we'll start with Emilio Mitri, who will talk to us about how to improve the collaboration between the smart city community and the outside world. So Emilio, just say hi.
Hello everybody.
Also for the Making City project, we have Beril Apagu, who will talk about how to take into account secondary benefits against payback times of interventions for public authorities or for actors. The third topic will be presented by Sander Smith, and the topic is how can post-primary schools drive the adoption of smart city energy concepts. The last one for Making City, presented by Rachel Desmarie, will be how to evaluate the PED readiness of cities in terms of business models. Then we have from the Positive project, we have João Formiga presenting how to overcome regulatory and social acceptance related barriers of heritage sites against smart city solutions deployment. After this topic, we will jump in My Smart Life, presented by Matthew Grosjean. And Matthew will talk to us about smart cities and communities as innovation hubs, how to boost and manage innovation in smart city projects.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. After this one, we have Atelier project. Our presenter is Mark Van Wies, and Mark will be talking to us about energy system aspects of positive energy districts.
Hello, everybody.
The next one will be City Exchange with Dirk Allers, and he will be talking to us about growth and replication of PED sites in urban environments. And then at the end of this presentation, we have a wrap-up session with Emilio. Just to let you know, we have 8 minutes presentation from each one of our speakers, and just after their presentations, there are 5 minutes of questions and answers. So if you have questions, you can start asking these questions since the beginning. If you don't have the time to answer to them online, we will make sure to connect you with the speakers so they can follow up with you afterwards. And I would like to introduce as well Elena Barrison from R2M Solution, who is here today helping us with technical, not issues, because we're not having issues, right? Technical aspects.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
So I'd like to ask to the other speakers to please turn off their cameras. Emilio, you stay with us and you can start your presentation.
Thank you very much, Augusta and Elena. Thanks to R2M and all the organization of Sustainable Places 2020. I attended the 2019 in Cagliari and it was a real pleasure. And now it is a bit different as it is online. Okay, as you've seen, we have 8-minute presentations. So this should work relatively quickly. We hope we can inspire you because most probably we cannot give you too much detail, but basically we can inspire the audience. Our objectives will be fulfilled. Okay, so I'm going to be speaking about the approach from Making City, which is one of the 17, now 18 lighthouse projects, smart cities and communities, SCC1 projects. Our approach is relatively broad because the thing we plan to do that from Making City is in a way that we call the orbits, that is taking our project at the center of everything, because it is seen from us as all the other SCC1 projects. We have a closer orbit, which is the SCC1 Lighthouse projects, where we want to have an internal cooperation framework. But then we have other European Union's initiatives which are closer to us and in what we call an external cooperation framework. But we also have an orbit of stakeholders from whom or for whom we want to create a base for a think tank to discuss issues and advance views on things. And from that, we would like to reach all the rest of the spectrum. Basically, when we speak about our spheres, we speak about our members or close members or something, and then we speak about additional orbits which conclude in a wider orbit, which is the society. So we in the end want to have political influence with the things we do so that we can drive transition as it is needed. In Making City, which is a 5-year project, we define a number of activities, basically these 5 lines you can see. Sorry, you can see here. The first one is the stakeholders map. The second one is the radar, which is the events calendar. Then we are already working on communication and dissemination structure. And as I said, the opinion and think tank and finally political influence. Right now, we are at the end of year 2020, the first 2 years of the project. And I'm going to be showing a bit of the stakeholders map and the radar we are doing, which are tools that can be used by all the projects and beyond. You may have heard something about the stakeholders map. We are using this representation, which is the software named Kumu. And this is, I mean, you have the many hundreds participants in all the 18 projects here, but you can then, I mean, there's a key definition or characterization of types of participants, which you can see on the left-hand side, from local governments to unusual suspects, and in between other public financiers, etc., mobility, ICT. But here you can see all the projects and the connections they have among them, which are not easy in some cases, but with this you can analyze and see who's connected to whom and how, and try to create new connections. Another way to see this is by country. This is an easy representation where you can see, for instance, France, and you can see the different colors of the different types of partners. Or by category, which is precisely the categories you see on the left-hand side. For instance, this would be local government, cities mostly, and or this one is academy and research, or this one is ICT. So you can have a fair view of what we have. The second instrument we are working on, I wanted to show you, is the radar. The radar is, in our view, collaboration for us is mostly to facilitate knowledge flow, and that means to digest it somehow and to make it easy to absorb. Now we are in an extraordinary moment when many things are changing. So this is something that we must take into account. So but in this situation, we created a tool that is showing to be extremely useful because of this circumstance. So we started with the closest organizations and also extended to other organizations. But right now we are following 67 initiatives throughout the world, mostly in Europe. And with this, we have created a table that allows us to characterize the events that are coming up. We are doing this every 2 weeks, but we have already discovered that that may not be enough, because now we may have an upcoming event in less than 10 days. So maybe we need to shorten this up a bit. This is the first 9 rounds we've done, 2 weekly rounds of upcoming events with this view. The stakeholder map I showed before, you can see them at the Making City webpage, and also this calendar, with all the upcoming events in two formats. The one on the left is unfolded, and the very compact one, which is only one line per event on the right-hand side. So you can see these both at the Making City webpage, and we're also doing statistics on this to try and understand how this works a bit better. So right now we have done the stakeholders map, the protocol, and the events calendar. But now we would like to progress, as I said at the beginning, with the news, space for news, more activities on webinars and workshops, and also start an editorial space with a think tank for the future. So we are working on this, and we have created like a methodology for this events calendar. I'm saying this because we are following only certain type of activities related to smart cities and mostly positive energy districts. But if, for instance, you wanted to follow something related to financing, you probably need to create to use this same methodology to do that. So right now we do have obviously some things about financing, but it is mostly concentrated on smart cities and communities. So this is my presentation, Augusta. So I don't know if there's a space for questions now.
And right in time.
Right, you tell me. Okay, it was important to show that it can be done in 8 minutes. So here it is. Okay, you tell me if there are questions or.
Okay, so for now there are not questions yet. I don't know, Elena, from your side, if you can see any questions. Okay, so just to remind people that they can start asking questions since now. Emilio, if there are questions for you, we can do a Q&A session at the wrap-up.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. So we progress. I stop my screen then, Augusta, right?
Yes, okay. And I would like to invite Beril Alpagut to present to us. There you go. The floor is yours, Beril.
Thank you. And I turn off my screen as well, or you want me to stay here as moderator?
You can turn off your camera. Thank you, Emilio.
Thank you. Hello, Beril.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I will just make a full screen. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So hello, everyone. This is Beril from Demir Enerji, and we are a Istanbul-based project management and consultancy company. And we are now running 5 smart city projects, and I'm the project manager of the first positive energy district project of Horizon 2020, Making City. And today I'm going to talk about the secondary benefits of payback times of energy transition implementations that we are always facing in these smart city projects. So I would like to start with some figures presenting the energy poverty in EU. According to the Clean Energy Package, energy represents an average of 6% of the annual expenditure of 200 million households in the EU. And you may review the EU proportion of households whose share of energy expenditure in income is more than twice the national median share. And it's also presented as breakdowns to countries. And in this second figure, share of the population not able to keep their home adequately warm is displayed. As you see, unfortunately, some of EU countries are at risk of energy poverty in the last years. But today, in the real world, as we are facing with economic barriers in implementation of smart city solutions, the policymakers, the economic actors, and the citizens, of course, themselves, are not able to get total advantage of the benefits of renewable energy generations, reducing energy demand solutions, or increasing the energy efficiency technologies measures. Here's a list of the potential secondary benefits of payback times for smart solutions from public authorities' point of view. For example, the reduced social and health expenditures, a cleaner and safer environment by the promotion of the reduced fossil fuel dependency and energy energy poverty, of course. And the local employment in the green economy can be counted also as a secondary benefit, and a higher quality of life for all citizens, which also increases the social trust and the community attachment and belonging, of course. And all of these measures create an increased awareness causing less energy consumption, and of course new revenues for the local governments. And what would be the amount of money to be calculated by these benefits? And from the economic actors' point of view perspective, the secondary benefits can be also counted as the increased productivity of employees, cleaner and safer working environment, also reduced costs for time loss in traffic jams, and decreased costs of sick leaves depending on the cleaner and safer working environment, and decreased productivity losses related to poor working environments, of course, and again increased awareness causing less energy consumption. All of these measures are mostly value driven, of course. They are not just profit driven, but again, what is the amount of money that could be accountable for these kind of benefits? Another aspect is also very, very interesting, I think, is the willingness to pay against the payback times. Some studies conducted in EU projects present that the motivation behind the willing to pay is not just the saving on the energy bills, actually. It is also important to note that the energy and carbon are invisible, and therefore they tend to stay out of people's mental framework. And integrated them with the visible changes like increased comfort and healthier and more beautiful home, let's say, it may help to increase the uptake of energy and carbon related measures. This is also what we face in most of the projects, that the invisible and the visible aspects should be gathered together in order to motivate people to invest in energy transition. So we should integrate the visible changes and the invisible aspects, as I said, by motivating and supporting the economic actors and citizens towards well-informed energy transition. And most importantly, we need to develop policies to encourage sustainable consumption. As Emilio explained our project a bit, in Making City, we're also, what do we do in Making City for these kind of motivations, let's say? As a pioneer PET project, Positive Energy District project, we try to integrate political and social actions in the project in order to support the energy transition in our lighthouse cities. And this can be summarized as strong city visions that people recognize and value, and also bottom-up approaches, most importantly, at district level, to create and share the knowledge, and to develop district energy plans and PET developments, of course. And you may really review more information on these actions that can be summarized here in our website. That they are being tested now in lighthouse cities of Making City. When this workshop was first drafted, actually, we were not facing the COVID situation, and the secondary benefits and how to promote them were planned in this flow until this slide, actually. But today, a new report that is called World Energy Outlook is published by the International Energy Agency, and I find it quite interesting. And also for assuming new scenarios on energy markets, and which would directly affect the payback times and the benefits of smart city solutions, of course. Supportive policies and metering technologies are enabling very cheap access to capital in the leading markets now. And with sharp cost reductions over the past decade, the solar PV is consistently cheaper than new coal and gas-fired power plants in most countries. Of course, not in all countries, but in most of the countries. And solar projects now offer some of the lowest cost electricity ever seen. And according to their scenarios that they created in this report, the stated policy scenario in which the COVID is gradually brought under control in 2021, let's say, and the global economy returns to the pre-crisis levels at the same year. Then between 2020 and 2040, the solar PV generation will be 5,000 terawatt-hour globally. And according to the second scenario, to the sustainable development scenario, a surge in the clean energy policies and investments puts the energy system on track to achieve the sustainable energy objectives in full, and of course including all the Paris Agreement measures and energy access and air quality goals. The solar PV generation will be 8,000 terawatt-hour globally. Thus, according to these numbers, it seems that the solar becomes the new king of electricity. More policies are needed, actually, and there are much more sustainable pathways of this crisis. And Sustainable Recovery Plan of IEA is also a step change in clean energy investments in line with the Sustainable Recovery Plan. It offers a way to boost energy recovery, create jobs, and reduce emissions. You may find, of course, more details in the World Energy Outlook, and the recovery plan presents assumptions on public health and the economy, which would directly lead to induce the public authorities and the economic actors on the way to payback times, actually. And yeah, it's a very quick presentation, but I would like to also conclude by the mentioning of the decision role of governments of today, because at the moment, when COVID-19 has created extraordinary uncertainty, as you know, governments have unique capacities to act and to guide the actions of others. They can lead the way by providing the strategic vision, the spur to innovation, the incentives for consumers, the policy signals and the public finance that catalyzes action by private actors, and of course support for communities where livelihoods are affected by rapid change. So the governments, they really have responsibility to avoid unintended consequences for the reliability and of course affordability of supply. And our secure and sustainable energy future is a choice. It's a choice for consumers, investors, industries, but most of all for governments, actually. So I would like to thank you all. And if any questions.
Thank you very much, Beril, for your presentation. We still don't have questions coming in. Oh, I have one question. How can smarter cities help to tackle the issue of energy poverty? How to identify the social and economic status through monitoring data?
Yeah, it depends on the, as I said, it depends on the decision role of the governments on this issue, because it's not just, maybe we shouldn't just reduce this issue just to the smart city projects of Horizon 2020, but it really depends on the decision role of the governments, because with the energy generation, green energy generation, and reducing the energy consumptions and also providing energy efficiency in the projects, of course, will help the energy poverty, to combat with the energy poverty, and the investments should be also collectively done by the governments, of course, by some incentives, subsidies, or also integration of economics as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Beril.
Augusta, if there are no more questions, and if there is time, I might ask a question.
Of course.
To Beril? Okay, good. Thanks, Beril. Well, this is very good news, but I think you are asking too much from governments. There is a slide, your final slide, where you say that governments can do this easily by providing. Look at that. Do you think governments can do that? Don't they need help from the private somehow?
We see
Because
differences.
I think the idea of, I mean, energy communities, energy is something that usually makes people fight. And you're suggesting that energy communities should be the way to get, for people to get together and so on, and to have a common purpose. And the government should do this important part of the work. So I think this is an outstanding task, isn't it?
Yeah, we see differences from governments to governments, as you know. I mean, in EU, like, I'm not talking, of course, globally. I'm not so sure about all of the countries, but in EU, we see, of course, differences from approaches to this issue. The most important thing here is I think the collaborative governance, like participatory approaches with these local communities and the governments together. So I know these are very ambitious targets, but the key is the collaboration. So of the citizen and the government together.
Okay, so we all need to learn how to collaborate better, definitely.
Yeah, we are testing it already in our project, so
Yes.
let's see the results soon. Then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very good. There are no more questions from the audience for now. Thank you, Beryl, very much.
Did I stop sharing the screen? I'm not so sure.
Elena will give now the rights to Sander Smith, and you can turn off her camera. Thank you very much, Beryl.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello, Sander. The floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon. Just let me. So my presentation should be visible. Okay,
Yes,
welcome. My name is Sander Smith.
Yes,
and I work as a I'll start. And I work as a business designer for Hardware Solution, and I believe that schools can play a central role in the shaping of energy-related consumer behavior. And schools can be at the heart of energy communities. So in the next 8 minutes, I will show you why and I'll share some of the work we do in the ENERGE project. ENERGE is short for Energizing Education to Reduce Greenhouse Gas Emissions. Now, building new schools or deep retrofitting of existing schools can take years from planning to completion. So there's a need for low-cost solutions that enable long-term resource efficiency in schools. This morning we heard that the renovation rate is about 1%. So in that speed, it takes too long to have all the existing school buildings at a near zero energy profile. At the same time, our schools are the place where we educate our future decision makers. So why not empower them and involve them in the process of making your own school more sustainable and climate neutral? And since energy consumption of buildings and indoor climate are interrelated, ENERGE covers both topics and aims for healthy and energy efficient schools. Well, some key figures about the ENERGE project. ENERGE is an innovative Northwest Europe inter-regional project. We're featuring 10 partner organizations from 6 different countries in Northwest Europe. And we collaborate with 12 demonstration schools, 2 schools in each of the countries we cover. The project has started in 2019 and we plan to end in 2023. Now, ENERGE wants to contribute to a climate neutral Europe, and the way we want to do it is by using targeted physical interventions that combine a web-based platform and sensors with behavioral studies and new educational approaches that enable schools to engage in energy and greenhouse gas mitigation. The project aims at using low-cost interventions to achieve a minimum of 15% reduction in total energy consumption at the 12 demo schools. And long-term impacts will be consolidated by the development of additional educational material to supplement existing school curricula for 12 to 18-year-old students. ENERGE has adopted a holistic approach where we look at the technical, the social, and economic aspects of energy efficiency in schools. And this means co-design sessions with students and other stakeholders, looking how we can integrate our educational materials with national curricula, and looking at the funding mechanisms and governance structures at 6 member states. At the 12 secondary schools, 2 in each country, they're actively involved in the design of the ENERGE project and the ENERGE platform, and they will validate and deploy the methodology and platform once it's ready. I will talk a little bit about how we engage with the internal and external stakeholders, starting with the internal ones. So the first group of internal stakeholders are the people that are directly involved with educating on sustainability and the energy management of the school building. Think of the teachers, the students, the maintenance staff, and school management. And to engage with the students, we set up ENERGE committees in each of the schools. Picture on the left. So these ENERGE committees are groups of 3 to 5 students that promote the ENERGE project within the school and organize the different project-related activities with help from the project partners. Together with these committees, we already organized several co-design sessions and interview sessions that, that produced valuable information for the project to shape and design the platform. In the Netherlands, we can also make use of the Sense Lab, a facility from project partner TU Delft. That's the picture on the right. Here we invite students to experience differences in light, temperature, noise, and humidity. And the goal here is to make staff and students more aware of the impact of their immediate environment on their performance and well-being. Now, what we experience so far is that students are very motivated and eager to work with us, and we also see teachers on the other hand and school management struggling with a wide range of challenges, organizational-wise and educational-wise, and shrinking budgets. And of course, the COVID-19 crisis has put a lot of stress on our partner schools and makes it extremely difficult or even impossible to set up these new project-related activities. But nevertheless, in an online version, most of the activities has been, albeit in a delayed format, being performed. Now, one question we want to address also is if and how educating students in energy efficiency is impacting their energy behavior at home. Do students have an impact at home and influence their parents or not? To measure this, students are asked to keep an energy diary in which energy consumption is recorded, and the project will compare these results against set baselines and investigate if there's a measurable effect of the interventions done at school and the energy consumption behavior at home. Now, switching to the external stakeholders. The internal stakeholders are more geared towards the use of the NUTS platform, whereas the external stakeholders are more about the economic and management side of the NUTS platform. Think of school owners of school buildings, energy providers, public authorities, or technology providers. And school management here is the linking pin between internal and external stakeholders. So what we already discovered are the differences in governance and financial structures in education between the 6 member states covered by the project. In some countries like the Netherlands, schools have great freedom in how to spend their budget, whereas in countries like France, the governance system in education is much more centralized and schools have much less autonomy. And in the overview on the right, we see a generic governance model, but in reality, each country has put responsibilities at different governance levels. So that makes it a little bit difficult to make, let's say, a single solution for the different member countries. One tool we have developed or are developing is to bring external stakeholders together is a simulation board game. In this game, participants have to make an imaginary school as energy efficient as possible. Participants here play the role of one of the 4 stakeholder groups who each have their own missions and goals. And the purpose of this game is to show participants the different interests of the various stakeholders, encourage this discussion and let them play with the balance between common and self-interest. Well, originally it was designed to be played in physical workshops, and in hindsight that was not a very good choice, so we're now see if we can turn it into a digital format. Next to the NUTS game, we also created 4 different future business scenarios for NUTS to facilitate the strategic discussion about the platform. The purpose of the business scenarios is to explore various possible future business settings to determine the best market engagement strategy for the NUTS platform and support the designers with developing business requirements. The scenarios are based on 2 identified uncertainties for the NUTS solution, and these are the level of interoperability of the NUTS platform with existing and future building management systems, so open or closed, and the framing of the NUTS solution, energy management system or educational tool as the 2 opposites, which implies different choices for different budgets, policies, KPIs, and decision makers. So placed on 2 axes, this resulted in 4 business scenarios as shown here. And from a smart city and energy community perspective, having an open and interoperable platform seems the preferred scenario. So that's why we as a project are also looking at what's happening in the smart city domain. But we also recognize that this adds an additional layer of complexity and makes it a little bit more demanding for the schools who will not also have the knowledge and the technical know-how in-house to make decisions like this. Since I'm also a little bit interested in how the audience is thinking about the 4 scenarios, I want to ask Elena to throw in the poll where it's being asked which of the 4 scenarios are being favored. Now I get a pop-up. Elena, can you give me a ping when the poll is closed?
The poll is still in progress, Sandra.
Okay, you
collecting
stop
responses.
Okay, you stop it after 15 seconds or something like that, I guess.
Okay, just to let you know, we are in the 5 final minutes for Q&A. Okay?
Yeah, I can see you on screen, but I have a timer.
No, everybody can see the poll only.
Okay, well, if you close it, I got one more slide.
Could you close the poll, please, Elena? And there you go.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll check the results later. Final slide. So how do schools fit in an energy community? And how can they drive the adoption of smart city energy concepts? Am I still sharing?
Yes, I can see your slide.
Okay, cool. So the primary task of schools is to educate, and schools should offer a safe and healthy learning environment. But it's also one of the places in a community where students and parents from a single district, village, town, or region meet. So what students learn at school, they bring back home to their homes and families. We see a lot of enthusiasm amongst the students when it's about environment and sustainability. And in my opinion, schools can play a leading role in the transformation towards a smart and sustainable energy system, not by giving them more tasks and responsibilities, but by supporting them in taking the natural role as educator, playground, and connector of people, and by helping them to become net zero energy and lead by example. So this concludes my presentation. If you want to know more about the Nudge project or join the discussion, you can engage with us on Twitter, LinkedIn, check the website. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sander. And there are still some minutes. I would like to invite these other speakers. If you have any questions to Sander, I think it was a very good idea from Emilio to interact. So please feel free to raise your hand and just turn on your camera and ask the question. And thank you very much, Sander. We want to complete with?
You're welcome.
No? Okay, no questions. Thank you, Sander.
May I say something? Just 1 minute, Augusta. I'm just, if there is time, just tell me if not.
Go for it. We have time.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Sander. I think, I mean, we are in a moment where good investments are essential, and investing in young people, in young people's view of things and understanding of buildings is one of the best investments we can do. So it is a comment rather than a question, but yeah, the school is the meeting place actually, and it is a meeting place that involves the students, teachers, and parents as well, very efficiently. So I think this is in this moment. I think that we should stress that investment in this human capital, which is young people's mind, is essential. I know you agree. You're going to say that you are right, probably, but tell me something more if you wish.
Oh, I totally agree, because this is a natural place where people come together. It's just the comment I would like to make is that what we see is after the crisis from a few years ago, that budgets in education have been cut dramatically in most of the member states, while the number of responsibilities and tasks for teaching staff and school management the workload has been increased. So I don't think we can ask of them more without providing them with the proper resources.
Yeah, so that's a key point in recovery funds, right? To channel that.
Yeah. So yes, it's the right place, but we should facilitate and support them on all levels.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Augusta.
Thank you
for allowing me to jump in. Thank you.
We have someone started to ask a question, but it's not there anymore. But we still have time in the wrap up. Thank you very much, Sander. I would like to invite Rachel to talk to us.
Yeah, hello.
Hi. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I should be able to share my screen. Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm Rachel. I'm working at R2M Solution. Is it in full screen or not?
No, we can see the presentation with the side slides.
Okay, now it's in full screen.
Yes, now it's perfect.
So yeah, so I'm Rachel. I'm working at R2M Solution, and I'm here to present you what we are currently doing in the Making City project. The objective is to design a tool to enable cities to position them and identify structural weakness in their innovation ecosystem. Based on key success factor to develop a positive energy district model in their city. So the final user of this kind of tool will be the city that wants to evaluate them ahead of a paid implementation and have advices. So here is the methodology that we put in place to structure a work. So the first step obviously was to structure the work, the framework. Then we plan to have some interview and then to construct a set of indicators to have feedback on those indicators, to then be able to construct a prototype, and then again have feedback, update it, and test this prototype, and then release a consolidated version of the paid readiness tool. So just for your information, this task started not a long time ago, so we are still in the step 1. So I will show you the step 1 here. So there is 2 phases in the establishment of this framework, is to establish the research approach, and then we made a literature review that I will synthesize to you today. So the research approach is basically based on 2 points. The first point is to base the approach on a top-down and bottom-up approach to determine the factor of success. So we will ask the cities how their business model makes a positive energy district success in their city ecosystem. And in the other end, we will ask the business actor why their business is a success in that specific city. And we will mix both approach. And the second point of our research approach is the setting indicators approach, which is really classical. So first, we will identify a set of indicators corresponding to each key factor of success. Then we will use the SMART process that the indicator chosen should be measurable, specific, and objective. And then we will establish a reference scale for each indicator. Will indicate what is good, medium, low, or low level. So that's the first part that we have made. And the second part, we have a literature review of all the business models that could appear in a city. And we made a synthesis here that we divided in 6 categories. So we found business model for building renovation, business model for renewables and storage, business model for district energy system, business model for the energy market transition, business models for urban mobility, and business models based on data. But after that, we found that this synthesis of common business model were not sufficient to help the city in their paid implementation. So we decided to dig deeper and have a closer look. And for that, we based our work, our study on the work of the European project Integrity. This project have developed a business modeling tool to support professionals in prototyping suitable business models. So this project have provided a list of common patterns for the different blocks of the business model Canva. So for our study in Making City, we selected all the business model, all the pattern from revenue stream, governance mode, pricing logic, and financing. And we list this common business model patterns that was listed by Integrity, and we link those patterns to the common business models that I showed you the slide before. And thanks to that, we obtained this kind of matrix this matrix to really help to better understand each business model. What is the component of each business model? So we also define, provide definition, precise definition of all the business model patterns. So that was the first part of our literature review. The second part, we focus on key common success factors. And here is a synthesis of what we have found. We can categorize. We can have 5 categories of key common success factor. So the first one is a strategic focus. Who is the leader? How is the management? How is the planning? And then the people, so the personnel, the staff, but also how you empower your staff by learning and development. And after, how you carry your operation by process, by specific process of work. And then the connection, how you connect to the citizen, and how is the ecosystem interaction in your city. And also at the end, the finances aspect, so the assets and facilities and equipment. So that are the key common success factor of the implementation of eco-quartier in a city. I would like to launch a poll for you to tell me, according to you, which one of these key success factor is more important. So Elena, could you reach the poll? Yes, perfectly. So yeah, just according to you, according to your own experience and your feelings, what do you think about this question?
The poll is in progress, Rachel. We're collecting responses.
Thank you, Gustav.
There you go.
Okay, thank you very much to all the participants, and it's very interesting. I will analyze this in future development of the project. Thank you very much. So the next slide, can you close the result of the poll, please? Okay, thank you. That was the 2 first parts of our literature review, to make a list of a common business model and to deeply analyze the business model. And second, to have a literature review on common success factor. And the third part, it's a list of the city-scale activities that could have an impact on the PED implementation. And we found that the following activities could have an impact. So putting in place the fact that if there is an energy cooperative, the demand response system, shared public and private investment model, vehicle to grid, open data, energy performance contracts, creation of new public service operators, certification and labeling. So based on those 3 aspects, the matrix, the list of key success factor and the list of key activity, we are now trying to find appropriate questions to interview the actor of the cities, so the municipality itself and the business actors, to be able then to define some indicators. So yeah, that's the process that we are putting in place now. And just for you to show that we have in mind in the prototype of this prototype of this tool. So yeah, in step 5, we plan to prototype such to develop such kind of prototype. So based on the set of indicators that we will construct, a user-friendly tool with 3 indicators, so fully ready, partially ready, and need to improve on some aspects. Input data provided by the city should be easy to fulfill. And here at the bottom of my slides, the possible shape of the prototype, but yeah, it's very early, so it's just a prototype. And it's an example with demand and response. So we maybe have 4 categories: market readiness, social readiness, political readiness, and technical readiness. So we will have indicator, green, orange, or red. And after the underlying indicators that we will be able to define. And very important also, all the actors involved in this criteria. So yeah, that's how we plan to build our tool. We are still at the very beginning, but if you are interested in these aspects, you can follow us on the Making City website, or contact me after this workshop. So if you have any question, please feel free to raise your hand.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you very much. There are no questions coming from the audience, but I would like to invite Emilio and the other speakers. If you have any questions for Rachel, please feel free to turn your camera on and jump here. Great.
Yeah, I've got a question. Is there any way to validate this tool? So you come to a conclusion, one city is pet ready, the other city not at all, huh? On the basis of your methodology. Maybe I exaggerate, but is there a way that after a couple of years you see how it turned out and whether or not your initial conclusion is validated by the developments in these 2 cities? Is that possible? And on the basis of that, then improve and refine your methodology?
Yeah, so yeah, in the methodology, we have already 3 steps to check with the real world if this tool will be pertinent. So it's at 3 different times of the project. We will ask feedback from the ground. So it is very important for us to check, yes, if it's accurate what we are doing. And in a long-term exploitation, to be honest, we haven't started yet to think about that because we are still at the very, very beginning, and the projects are still 3 more years to go. But yeah, that's an interesting question to have in mind. How maybe in 5 years to have feedback in the utilization of this tool, and be sure that it is pertinent. So for the moment, we are just testing during the project, but not ahead.
Rachel, Emilio, I have a question from the audience. Is it possible to have an understanding of the matrix?
Yeah, sure. There is just this links of common pattern that is listed by the European project Interreg. Look, for example, in the pricing models, there is a premium or gap paying and so on. So we have all this list, and after in the row we have all the common business models patterns common business models that we found in cities. And we mix all that, we analyze that in this kind of business model. Usually you can find this pattern and this pattern and these patterns. And that's work we are doing that at R2M solution right now. And in Time Making City project, we have other experts that are expert on business models. So we will ask them to cross-check what we are developing so far. So it's just a tool to help to better understand what's inside a business model, because sometimes the name of a business model is very broad and is not always understood by precisely from its meaning.
Thank you, Rachel. Emilio, if you have, I think we have time for a quick question. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Augusta. Thanks very much, Rachel. I wanted to ask a question about maybe a bit of a nasty question about business models, because we used to be in a world well, we used to speak about business as usual, but right now business are very unusual. For instance, regarding COVID and this type of thing that is surrounding us. I mean that, for instance, tourism had a very sound business model, and we suddenly discovered that it is not like that. Or, for instance, agriculture had a poor business model from the production side, and then we discovered that it is absolutely essential. So I was wondering whether this model about business models of yours is taking into account this new situation that is probably leading to many contingency situations. So I don't know. I know it is a very difficult question, and it is within our own project of making cities. So I'm sorry to be to expose you to this, but this it is key, because right now we need to face this with new views. Thank you.
That's very interesting. Thank you. And I think it's linked to the resilience of the city. And that's very interesting, but because we don't integrate it for the moment, but we are just at the very beginning. But as you can see, we have a political readiness, and maybe it could be in our evaluation to ask if they have a resilience plans for their city, for their own city. And we can add this criteria on our model. So yeah, that's a good idea. And now the tough part is to know how to evaluate it, how to evaluate this resilient plan. But yeah, it's our job we will have to do in the next months.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rachel. I would like to invite, now we are going out of the Making City world and going to another project. So positive project, I would like to invite João Formiga to step in, please. There you go. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Augusta. Let me share the presentation. Second. Could you please confirm that you are seeing it?
Yes.
We are seeing it with the next slide.
Thank you.
But we see the presenter view.
Yes, we are seeing your presenter view, so we can see your comments.
Okay. Not sure why. Let me just. Still seeing the presenter view?
Yes.
Okay, I think I know what's wrong. Sorry about this small issue.
Take your time.
Okay, and now?
Perfect. There you go.
Okay, I just swapped the screen to one side, and now okay. So thank you all. Thank you, Emilio, and thank you, Sustainable Places, for inviting us, and especially inviting Positive to present this this issue of how to overcome regulatory and social acceptance related barriers when it comes to deploying smart city solutions in heritage sites. Before I briefly present Positive, let me just introduce myself. I'm João Formiga. I'm from Portugal. I work at EDP New, an R&D center from EDP Group. And EDP is the project coordinator of Positive, and myself, I'm the site manager of one of the lighthouse cities, which is Évora. I just want to present a brief overview before jumping in these patrimonial constraints. So Positive, as the almost of the other projects that are being presented over here, is an European Union funded smart cities and community project. With the trademark of helping historical cities to become greener, smarter, and more livable spaces and places while respecting their cultural heritage. In this sense, the main goal is to create and demonstrate and deliver a set of positive energy blocks, meaning having more generation, more renewable generation than consumption, with a strong emphasis on the cultural and the historical protected areas. To achieve this goal, it is important to highlight two streams over here. The first one is to combine these PAB goals with several solutions from grid flexibility to e-mobility technologies, ICT platforms, citizen engagement strategies, obviously taking into account that we need to respect this urban cultural heritage. And the second stream that I want to stress is to achieve this, we need to engage city administrators, planners, universities, citizens, several stakeholders in a coordinated effort to shape the future development of the European cities, and especially these ones, these cultural cities. I just want to have a glimpse on these key facts of the project. So we are a huge consortium, 46 partners from 13 different European countries. We have a total budget of 22.5 million euros. This is a 5-year project. We just finished our first year in the end of September, so we started in 2019, and it is expected to finish the project in 2024. As I mentioned, I'm from Evra. We have two lighthouse cities. The first one is Evra. The second one is Alkmaar in the Netherlands. And we have 6 fellow cities: Bari from Italy, Celius from Slovenia, Granada from Spain, Vidovre from Denmark, Ioannina from Greece, and Újpest from Hungarian. So this is a well-spread project. Let me just talk a bit about the positive strategy. The strategy is built around 4 multidisciplinary and complementary energy transition tracks. This term, the transition track, it's used to facilitate and to group these complementary integrated solutions. And these integrated solutions are built on top of both mature technologies and also innovative technologies. The first group, or the first energy transition track, is innovative solutions for buildings and positive energy blocks. So basically, it's all about integrating renewable source of energy, including retrofitting and including energy efficiency measures, increasing also the self-consumption rate. The second group is storage solutions and energy management, including flexibility and including also an additional important feature, which is the peer-to-peer transaction, energy transactions. We are demonstrating here several new groups of storage solutions. The third vector that we are demonstrating is the e-mobility. It's a cross-cutting issue. So over here, I just want to highlight the smart charging platform we are deploying, the V2G concept, which is quite important to reach the positiveness in each of the PABs, the shared mobility services, and lastly but not least, the fourth energy transition track is the citizen-driven innovation in co-creating smart city solution. And I will get back to this fourth transition track because it's naturally related to the subject that I'm presenting today. I just want to highlight that today I'm presenting mainly the constraints related to Evra. The time is short, so we need to we just have time to present these cases to Evra. Naturally, these specific constraints that we have here in Evra, some of these constraints are horizontal and are applicable in other parts of Europe and of the globe. So just to leave the word that we have also additional regulatory issues in the Netherlands that I will not be addressing here today. A quick overview regarding the Évora Lighthouse ecosystem. So we have 3 different positive energy blocks. The first one, which is the one that gives more context for today's presentation, is the city center, in which we are involving 8 municipal buildings and 11 commercial/residential clients. Then we have a second block, which is Valverde, a small rural village in the outskirts of the city, and it has been the stage of several H2020 projects. So this community is well involved with the technologies and also with the concept of this sort of projects. And the third positive energy block is the industrial park, which is due to its nature, has several challenges, but not that related with cultural heritage. So I will focus mainly on the solutions and the constraints we are having in the city center. The first constraint that I would like to highlight here, or the first patrimonial barrier that I would like to highlight here, is related with the PV generation that we are not allowed to install in the municipal buildings. So we cannot install business as usual PV models in the municipal buildings at the city center. As I think I mentioned early in the presentation, so Évora is an UNESCO World Heritage Site, and all the buildings are protected and are subject to very strict rules from the Alentejo Cultural Heritage Administration, which is due to the fact they need to guarantee the preservation of patrimony values, and they need to guarantee that all the works on facades and roof must ensure that the original design, the aesthetical, and the materials are preserved. In this sense, I want to present here some technologies that we are deploying here in Positive. We call them, and they are under the umbrella of the BIPV solutions. The first that I'm presenting over here on top is this BIPV solution. So it's a building integrated photovoltaic, is a PV shingle. It has the aesthetical of a regular PV shingle. The second one is these skylights. So it's basically a PV skylight. And the third one is a tegocellar, is a thin film that is put on top of the buildings to provide not only PV generation, but also some comfort in terms of climatizing the areas.
João, you have 1 minute to wrap up.
Sorry, I will try to be very quick. So the second point I would like to bring here in terms of technical solution is a community solar farm that we are deploying in the outskirts of the city. So this will endow the citizens living in the protected areas to generate and consume renewable energy, not having the installation on top of their households. Over here, we are now having a new legislation in Portugal, which is around of the renewables energy communities, and the main challenge we have here is to guarantee the effectiveness of the community solar farm business model, both for the citizens that will own a share and also for the promoter that will deploy the community solar farm. The third technical point is related with this PEB's premise, meaning that we will have a higher generation than consumption in the buildings and in the PEB. So this brings new opportunities. For instance, if I have more free space to install PV, even if it's not business as usual PV in my building or in my household, then I will be able to share it with my community. So this is also something that is being shaped according to the new legislation we have here in Portugal. And finally, to conclude this fourth energy transition track, which is the citizen-driven innovation in co-creating smart city solutions, since I'm reaching the end of my time, I will jump to the main focus or the main goal of this transition track, which is improving citizens' quality of life and increasing city efficiency by involving cities citizens in the early development, design, and evaluation phases of the solutions. As you could imagine, this has been very difficult to achieve with the COVID-19 timing that we are living with. So for the first year of the project, we had designed a couple of workshops to co-create solutions and to evolve the citizens from the beginning, but that was not possible to achieve. We have, to circumvent this, we have created some online surveys to get familiar, to involve the citizens with the solutions, and to having them as an active player, mentioning which sort of solutions they think could be applicable for Évora, for Alkmaar, and for the other sites, and not leaving them apart. We want to include the citizens and all the relevant stakeholders in this in the cities co-creating these solutions. So thank you. Sorry for
thank you, João. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, you did great. You did great.
We still have time for questions. So I don't see any questions from the audience. Are there questions from the other speakers? Okay, well, we'll have a Q&A at the end. So thank you, João. You can turn your camera off now. Thank you. And I would like to invite Matthew Grosjean from My Smart Life for his presentation. Smart cities and communities as innovation hubs. Matthew?
Hello, everybody.
Hi, could you please? Yes, perfect.
Perfect. And now sharing the screen. I think it's fine now. Perfect.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. So it will be short and intense. I'm Mathieu Grosjean. I'm a work package leader for exploitation in My Smart Life and Remoban, which are two SCC projects. And we will discuss, or I will present about smart cities and communities as innovation hubs and how to make it effective or more effective. So first of all, I will be very fast because you have already heard about different smart city projects. A smart city project is usually a project of more than 20 partners from several countries in the EU, and where we have different lighthouse cities and follower cities. There are different stakeholders coming from local, regional authorities, citizen association, industries, university and research and development, and covering different type of expertise. Here we see energy, ICT, mobility and transport, and which is quite a good situation for innovating. Here shortly, introduction about My Smart Life. My Smart Life is a project of 5 years, 21.2 million euros budget. The main goal is to make sustainable cities with smart people and smart economy a reality. 27 partners from Germany, France, from Finland, Croatia, Spain, and Poland. Implementation there, a bit more specific, you can see related to district and buildings, related to city infrastructure, mobility solutions, and non-technical solutions. And this is also what we will discuss afterwards. I will give some example related to these innovations. For Remoban, also a project of 5.5 or 5.5 years with 22 partners from Spain, UK, Turkey, Belgium, Hungary, and Italy and Germany. The 5 first country being the lighthouse cities and the follower cities, and the 2 others are related to transversal partners. The main objective of Remoban, as you can see it in the title, in fact, is to develop a regeneration model for accelerating the smart urban transformation. And you can find some specific data on the slide related to low energy district with energy reduction of 34% of CO2 emission and 50% for the energy reduction of 34% and CO2 emission reduction for 50% for the district part or energy district part. And for sustainable mobility, we have energy reduction of 5.1% and CO2 emission reduction by 5%. So this project is finished, contrary to my smart life, and this is the reason why I can give more inputs related to the impacts, even if there are still some impacts ongoing. Related to the plan, so we'll speak about innovation on the innovation criteria, because since this is the main topic, smart cities as innovation hub, which methodology we developed to enhance innovation in smart cities and community projects, and what are the results obtained. Here we can see the innovation criteria, some innovation criteria, 10 different types of innovation, which are the one that we are meeting or in our EU projects or in our smart city and community EU projects. And here also you can see several degrees of level or degrees of innovation with incremental, lateral, and disruptive innovation. Different innovation processes also that we can see in these different projects. There are the closed innovation, where we are focusing on solutions which are developed inside the companies, inside the organization, and not with any interaction. Open innovation, where we are using and benefiting from the external partners or from external entities that could give some more inputs for the innovation, and then the innovation networks, where the thought at the very beginning is to develop the innovation using a network, and at the very beginning, at the very start of the thoughts, to look at the different networks that can give this possibility to bring innovation. The related methodology. So here you can see the methodology we developed to enhance innovation in H20 Smart City and Communities project. For this methodology, we use some workshops mainly, where the idea is to empower the stakeholders concerning IP rights in H2020 projects, and how to protect results, how to work with other partners, other stakeholders, in order to innovate and without barriers, conflict. We are also bringing the partners in contact to create or to develop new ideas, or to work together on potential new innovation that were not thought at the beginning of the project or during the development of the offer. And there are also workshops dedicated to market analysis, business models, and exploitation roadmap. And there, the very interesting point is to bring the different stakeholders of the consortium together on a table, on a specific related to specific promising exploitable results, because there we have really in the room usually supplier, customer, potential partners, and so on. And this is the way to have some studies which are more better fit, better thought, and where we are generating already the first exchanges or the first connection between the partners, in order to spread these solutions and to make them successful. We can see on this slide the different type of activities which are related to exploitation, and here we see also the different activities related to this dissemination, which are supporting, of course, exploitation, because exploitation without dissemination is not possible. We've got the development of information packages, the development of web seminars, the development of cooperation profiles to benefit from the Enterprise Europe network and spread already the solutions. And of course, we have through this work the possibility to give inputs about what is the market situation at the moment for these solutions, looking at the different profiles and solutions. So now, what are the results for the project My Smart Life? Here we can see first the part related to building and districts. Then we can see the part related to renewable energy sources, and we can see also the part related to city infrastructures and smart meters, and then mobility solutions, to give you an idea about all these innovations. Here, a study that has been developed by ESADE, our partner for business and finance in My Smart Life, where we can see the different several solutions that have been listed in the different categories, considering the different criteria. And here, from Remoban, some impact that have been generated thanks to this type of methodology. We can see the multipliers that have gave the possibility to spread the different information packages about the different solutions or innovation that have been implemented or developed during the project, the different expression of interest related to the cooperation profiles that have been developed, and also the exploitation claims that came inside the consortium, and the different contracts that have been signed outside also of the project already. So in conclusion, what can I say? The projects, the EU project that we have with Remoban, My Smart Life, and all other smart city and community projects are perfect for innovating, because we have these different expertise, these different innovative categories. We have the different type of partners and countries. But if we want to make the best out of it, we need to support it by a structured exploitation methodology, monitoring IP flows to give more safety to the partners, increase synergies, making the possibility to the different partners to get together, exchange, present their solutions, and look how they can work together for further development. Planning and disseminating the results to ensure and accelerate the sustainable market uptake. And these projects are not only about implementing foreseen solutions, but to generate innovative ones in this favorable cradle related to such SCC projects, and thus enriching not only the city or the companies from the implementation, but the development of promising innovations. Here you can see I brought also a book or a booklet that have been developed and which is available, which has been developed for the project Remoban, with best practices related to what I just presented, and the exploitation methodology, and how to make the best out of smart cities and communities projects, and increase or make the innovation as effective as possible, or as dynamic as possible. That's it for my side. I think I ran out of time. I don't hear you, Augusta, I think.
Sorry. Okay, we have a question for you. Based on your experience, how many truly innovative and exploitable results can an SCC project deliver?
How many how many solution or how many innovation per project?
How many truly innovative and exploitable results can?
It's very depending on the situation and the project. We usually the question is a bit tricky because the question is truly innovative. When we are speaking about the innovation, as we saw, there are different criteria, and there is also the fact that an innovation is for some country innovative and for some other not innovative. So it means that there is a regional aspect, there is this different degree and this different type, these different process that are used to make innovation. And I think that in such a project, such a project like Remoban or My Smart Life, we are very fast to something like between 50 and 100 exploitable results, which means innovation which are exploitable. After then, to define if this is truly innovative, then the question is more about truly, how we define truly, and what is very innovative and which region and so on.
Okay, thank you very much. We can connect you to the person afterwards if you want to continue this discussion.
Yes, I would be very interested.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Okay, I see Mark is ready.
Yeah, Mathieu, we were working together in the same project as well. So on innovation and the monitoring evaluation of its impact, we see in all these smart city project, innovation is a big word, and all these projects address them using slightly different approaches. How are we able to assess which one was successful? Are we able to, at the end of the day, be able to say this approach in this project was more successful in terms of innovation impact than the other? Or how can we evaluate whether you brought innovation further? And then I know that's very difficult. We can easily use process indicators, the number of patents, but that's, you look for more impact related indicators. Have you worked, or have you any idea, or is it too difficult to do?
No, I won't say that it's too difficult to do. It's more about it's very project dependent, I would say, because the impact or the how do you say, the success is difficult to quantify in the fact that in some projects there will be a target on the regional part. So the project, it will happen like that. So the project will have different partners which are very focused on the regional part because they are not interested in international relation and so on, and they will spread very well this solution or that they have regionally. And then it is difficult to say, oh yes, you haven't reached any success because you stayed in the region. No, we can't do that, and we can't say that. It's more about how many times or how much this solution has been reused or rethought, or how. It's not about only the fact to sell a product or a solution. It's about an idea to be spread, rethought, reused by others, and so on. And this is the reason why it's quite difficult or tricky to give a clear quantification, because potentially someone can rethink the idea or the work or the innovation that has been implemented and try to do something else with it, and then the connection is difficult to have and to show. So for me, the success or the work, the target of our smart city and community projects are really to look how this innovation that we have, how to spread them as much as possible, and make sure that there is an information that the person can get in touch with it. And for me, it's more about the reach, how many persons have been touched, have read, have looked at this solution. Of course, there are some other indicators, which are how many contracts have been signed, how many further development or implementation have been have occurred after the projects. We could also think about the turnover of the company related to one or another solution, if it is a solution which is related to which is marketable, because there are a lot of other solutions which are not marketable, but they are still exploitable results and need to be exploited, where we are thinking about procurement, where we are thinking about citizen engagement methodologies and so on. These are crucial works that have been developed, or innovation that have been developed by the different projects, and these are also or more important than some which are marketable, because they are changing the minds, they are giving the possibility for some situation, or for some situation to be implemented, because in many cases some solution has no possibility to be implemented because of legislation. And there are some solutions which are very promising, but without the policy support, without the legislation related, this solution has no future or is endangered. And it's hard to measure and to quantify exactly the success of a project or an innovation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. It's a very interesting discussion. We'll have to keep on going because there are still 2 projects to be presented. Thank you very much, Matthew. It was very interesting. Mark, could you please keep your camera on?
Yeah.
And the floor is yours. We can see your presenter mode. No, perfect. You can go now.
Well, thank you for this. I'm from another project, a smart city project focused on positive energy district. I will not present the project because you will say, well, it is exactly the same as positive and making city. At first glance, you do this exactly the same, but in different cities, and you are right. The difference is in the detail. We work in different contexts. Our package of solutions in PET are different. We work with different stakeholders, with different communities, and the idea is that at the end of the day, the whole portfolio of smart cities projects in total can allow us to draw conclusions and recommendations for a wide range of other European cities. So let me focus here on the energy systems. Positive energy districts have become an umbrella term to capture a wide range of subjects related to urban transitions, social innovation, citizen engagement, governance, economics. But of course, positive energy districts are primarily an energy system, and I plead that we need to understand the energy system to be able to assess the potential of PETs in urban transition. So just a couple of highlights from that perspective. Why is it important to see PETs as energy system? Well, the target is an energy-related one. And it says PET needs to be energy positive, and in the end, also climate neutral. And the greenhouse gas emissions, they originate from the energy systems. The idea of PETs originate from energy efficiency in buildings, and the realization, if you go beyond buildings and look at the district, the amount of intervention in the energy system becomes larger and gives you a better solution than looking at buildings isolated. It is a tendency in the energy system to become decentralized, from central production in big power plants to local production, and PET's energy system fits within that transition. A lot of PET innovations, and in the presentation on positive project, we already saw some of these innovations. They relate to the introduction of energy technologies, including storage facilities. And obviously, the social citizen perspective is important, but energy citizens, active citizens, they use the opportunities that the energy system can provide. So it is in general important to understand the energy system. But I've already have a question for you in a poll. As soon as you are forced to calculate and report whether your pet pilot is energy positive, then obviously the discussion goes on, okay, what should we include in the pet? So and there's a debate ongoing, what to include and what not to include. And let's ask you to solve this problem once for all. Can we show the poll, please?
Yes, the poll is already in progress, and we are collecting responses.
Okay, so basically there's multiple answers possible. This is for you to decide which should be included in the calculation, whether or not the energy positive pilot reaches its goal or not.
Okay, we have 40 seconds remaining, and then the poll will be closed. But people are still voting.
Yes. And this is one I'm very interested in, because it is a debate under
there you
pet.
Go.
Okay, the poll results. Okay, how can I see them?
You are not seeing the results?
Nope. Oh, I need to wait less. No, I don't see the results.
So we have build-related energy consumption 56%, RES integrated in building districts 50%, e-mobility charging in infrastructure in the area 50%, behavior of inhabitants that influences demand 63%, and appliances 38%.
And 50% means that half of the, okay. Well, it's how to interpret this, because I would expect that the first one was 100% of all because that is basically everybody voted for that. Who voted for the first one, correct?
Yes.
But okay, that's great. Yeah, but that is interesting. Yeah, yeah, and I see that the e-mobility is one of the critical elements, and often the idea is no, we leave it out, because including electricity infrastructure in the energy demand within the pet makes it far more difficult to become energy positive. But does it really matter? No, if you look at it from a complete city perspective. Okay, so this basically summarizes the energy system that could be considered. You see the elements which were in the poll. End-use behavior is also included, appliances, e-mobility, but it depends. The definition of the scope of the pet depends on your approach to upscale and replicate the pet within a broader city scale. Another issue that is heavily debated. Oh, sorry. The first one is also an important element of the energy system. Oh, can you still see my screen?
We can see now. Your screen is perfect.
Okay, but because I lost my presentation.
It's balancing supply and demand. This slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Energy flexibility, the incorporation of energy flexibility within the energy system is one of the key innovations that is being piloted now. The basic fundamental thinking is that when you increase the level of renewable energy within the built environment, you have a problem with peak load. The peak load, peak supply will occur during the day if you use PV. Peak demand in terms of when people start using electricity either in the households or for charging is in the evening and in the morning. And that would restrict the level to which you can integrate renewables in a pet. And that needs to be maximized. So inclusion of storage facilities, allowing peak shaving and then allowing matching supply and Demand is an important technology to allow for an increased share of renewable energy in the PET. And you see in every single pilot, in all projects, this is being investigated. Another important issue with regarding to the PET energy system is where you put your boundary. Your simple boundary could be geographical, that you look at a certain block of buildings within an area with some public space, which in which you can include infrastructure for e-mobility charging, in which you can include the PV power plants. But how you see in many cases that within a geographical area, it's difficult to reach energy positivity. And then you can link outside sources of renewable energy integrated into your PET energy system. That could be a PV plant located somewhere else in the city. It could be hydropower somewhere else in the city, or wind power.
Mark,
and then sorry?
Mark,
Yeah?
sorry, Augusta here. You have 1 minute to wrap up, and we have already a question for you. After you finished.
So then, just one. I skipped the examples of our PETs in Bilbao. There's the final slide, and that is basically very important. We see now a lot of PET pilots being implemented and analyzed, but that is only useful if you address upscaling and replication. A PET that is very, very successful as a standalone, it cannot be upscaled. Upscaling meaning that you include more buildings and more rest production in the PET, or that cannot be replicated, is useless. So analysis of the energy system and the energy performance should always be reviewed within the context of an upscaling and a replication approach. And now my question, please.
Thank you very much. So your question, what about the energy used to build the buildings? It would be interesting to evaluate it as well and try to compensate it.
That is very interesting, because that is very interesting, and we're looking at life cycle analysis, and that's something that we also basically the typical definition indeed for energy positivity or for greenhouse gas emission is direct impact. But to look at the life cycle impacts both on energy as well as on environmental and greenhouse gas emission is crucial, especially maybe because in PET you apply different technologies like PV that could have a direct benefit, but could have an indirect disadvantage. So what we are going to do in our project, we're also going to look at the life cycle impact of PET innovation. But indeed, that is certainly something that needs to be investigated. And that could lead to partly different conclusions on the impact of a PET compared to the baseline then when you only look at direct impacts.
Second question for you. Do we need a strict definition of PET or a more wider one to achieve the 100 PEDs towards 2050 target?
Oh, that's also an excellent question. Excellent question. My personal opinion is there is too much attention to the definition question, because you can because the target to reaching energy positivity can only be assessed within the context of a city. In some cities, when you have a city where there is a lot of potential for renewable energy outside the city, in the countryside, the PETs do not have to be energy positive. That is you have a different target. But if you have a city there is no potential for renewables outside the city, you need to go far further. Whether or not you include e-mobility, that will immediately impact whether you can achieve energy positivity. But that's an irrelevant question, because that question can only be answered on a broader urban scale. So yes, we need some sort of strict definition to be able to report, but the interpretation of that should also always be open and taken into considering the broader prospect of the city where the PET is placed. So I am very much in favor of not a strict definition, but a broader perspective on where PETs are placed within a city energy system.
Thank you very much, Mark. we have now a new project to be presented. Thank you, Mark, for the very interesting presentation. I would like to invite Dirk Arens from City Exchange. Oh, there you go. So, yes. Mark, if you could kindly turn your camera off now. And the floor is yours, Dirk.
Just let me find the right window here. You should see my view of the slides. Yes.
Yes, I see your presentation perfectly.
Great. Thanks, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. And yeah, the last slide that Mark showed about replication and scale up fits perfectly into the topic of my slides here. So think of this as a really nice flow that we didn't talk about before, but it just fits well. I'm representing the Positive City Exchange project, which is one of the Lighthouse projects, as we've already heard a lot today. We have started 2 years ago, and we are working with the Lighthouse cities of Limerick and Trondheim, plus 5 other follower cities. And yes, the topic that I have here, which also fits with what we've heard before, is growth and replication of pad sites within the urban environment. And also, as was said before, the whole idea of the positive energy district is to do the energy transition within the urban environment. So not just putting large windmills or solar farms outside the city, but also using this as a way to do urban regeneration, urban refurbishment, and local generation where we will need it, because in an energy system that has more renewable generation, you get more disturbances in the grid, and if you can take these to a more local level, you make also a lot of the overall grid management easier. So it's both of these aspects on the energy side, but also very much on the urban side, and what that means for cities to actually build positive energy districts. This is the City Exchange project. We have the 7 cities here that we are working with, distributed across Europe. And the approach here, I will not go into too much detail because this is basically what the other projects also have already talked about. So we have different approaches of how to do renewables, how to do ICT support, what sort of local activities we do in terms of integration of the electricity grid, in terms of the heating grid, of mobility, of citizen involvement and stakeholder engagement. So then for the topic that I'm focusing on here, on scalability, pads should be inherently designed for scalability. So we are starting from the idea of positive local generation, and then the question is, what do we do with this? And as Mark showed, we can scale this by growing out the pads that we already have, or that we have as pilots, or we can start new ones. And from our perspective, important is that then a pad is not a process, is a process, not a state. So if you have reached something that is very positive and has a lot of surplus energy that it generates, then the question is, what do you do with that? What is the next step? Who else can need this energy? What do you do with the neighbors around you that can be able to use this? So you can kind of scale it out. So at one point, if you become too positive, you're just shifting the problem one level up, and then you can also follow with the other measures that are being done and that make pads overall beneficial in an urban context. You can kind of carry them after. And also you can use this if you have larger pads with lots of surplus. They can carry lower efficiency areas or older buildings where it's not that efficient to completely upgrade them, but rather have more renewables that might be coming from another area. So this is also a way of kind of shaping a growth path within cities, which new areas should be included, both areas that have a high potential, but then also areas that have limited potential to still be able to lower their own emissions by integrating them into a larger system that then overall balances the energy. And what we're doing in the City Exchange project is we have identified for the cities that we're working with a number of areas where we start with the pilot blocks that we're working on. And in most of the cases, we are starting from hubs from already very energy efficient buildings. On the left side, you see the powerhouse Brattøra, This is already a very plus energy buildings. It's highly energy efficient, isolated. The whole roof is covered in solar panels, and it has 2 heat pumps to the fjord. So this is one of the buildings that by itself is already very positive. And the questions for that buildings are, what do we do with that surplus energy? Do you just give it back to the grid, or actually do you do something smarter with it, more local? For example, charging the local electric buses that are coming, charging the electric ferries that are coming in the next few years in that area, to kind of make this more a local part of the energy and the mobility system, and also of the urban renewable refurbishment we're doing within that area at the harbor, that's also overall being rebuilt. And we have these other buildings in the other cities here as well, where it's easier to start with a building that, or with a set of buildings that already have a very good energy performance. So you don't have to do the same work on all the buildings, but you can shift also a bit the attention of which solutions to set up. And in terms of scaling, this is also something that is quite broad. So you start with very small individual blocks here put as puzzle pieces, and then if it only were that easy to puzzle them together to larger positive energy districts in the city, up to then in the long term up to 2030, 2050 positive energy cities. And the little bubbles around here are the different demo projects we have within our project. I'm not going to go into the very details, but the idea is this is scalable. It should be individual building blocks. It's not always just exactly this way to put it. Each puzzle piece will look different based on what you're working with in the urban fabric. So 2 examples here. We have Limerick, where we have a few buildings that make up our first larger block. And then we have identified additional areas with the dashed lines here that are replication areas where the growth path, the growth trajectory has been analyzed and modeled within the urban environment. And we also have a few additional buildings here that have potential to act as additional anchor buildings, either for new PEPs to start or to build up, to grow the PEP towards them. And in the Trondheim example, you see at the top the harbor area where there's 3 main buildings that we're working with. Then there is already identified here on the map a replication area, and new areas outside of the core area that we're working with in the project in terms of the wider harbor area refurbishments are also being taken into account. And then down on the south, we also have a larger new area that actually multiple projects are working on in terms of setting up replication areas from different types of other projects that are running within Trondheim. And the overall replication plan from our side is we have the replication integrated into the project as all the others have as well. We need to build solutions that are replicable in different countries within Europe. So it should actually work in all the different 7 cities and countries, and the different environmental conditions, regulatory conditions, etc. So we also have a way to do feasibility studies, which we are also trying out now, how well this works, what sort of data is really needed to make decisions on this, to work with regulatory mechanisms and the business models.
Hi, Jacob. Augusta here, just to make sign that you have 1 minute to go.
Yes, I saw you. Thank you.
Okay.
And one thing here to just point out is something that we were asked by the call text for this H2020 project, but this is also something that has come up as a very important tool for the cities. It's called the Bold City Vision Framework, and you see on the left kind of follows this growth path from individual blocks to districts to cities, with different measures of how to link this up to strategic activities that happen in the city, linking it up with political activities, with urban planning, and with citizen engagement. So it merges the very high level strategic area that comes from the European Commission down to individual events, workshops, and engagement with building owners that we're doing. So this is a quite interesting document, which kind of puts an umbrella around the other pieces. And then to close, we are, of course, sharing our knowledge. We follow an open by default strategy in the project. So all our deliverables, almost all of them are public in our knowledge base. And we are working with co-creation and open innovation as principles to involve all the stakeholders within the urban innovation areas that we're working with. And one example on the wider collaboration is a solution booklet from SCIS. Since no one else was showing it today, I edited it here. This is a draft I had. Actually, this is also done with Making Cities and Mark's project Atelier. So this is a wider way of also collaborating between the projects and doing something of sharing our joint responses. This is upcoming. It should soon be available at the link here. And with that, I'm closing. Thank you very much, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you. There is a very kind message for all the speakers, someone that had to leave, but thank you all for the interesting presentation. So that's for all of you. So could you please turn your cameras on? And Emilio, would you like to wrap up? I will interrupt you if there are questions coming in. For now, there is no questions, and we have 7 minutes to a very insightful wrap up.
Well, thanks very much, Augusta. Thanks, everybody. So we have 7 minutes to wrap up. Not bad. What a big endeavor. Okay, what we have heard here is the expression of the European Union, European Commission wish to make the change happen, and how this is being interpreted by a number of actors very active in the field. This is an elite, actually, and we've also heard very important expressions in the sense that we must reach citizens, that we must be very flexible, and that empowering people is important, and so on and so forth. We've even heard expressions in the sense of okay, this may be good for exploitation, but maybe not good for market. We are hearing very many new things. I'm not going to go back into details because we've heard a lot of things. But I felt very interested about the two poles, for instance, where we see that behavior and citizens are becoming to really be in the front page, but I'm not sure we are able to reach quick enough to them. So I think this is an outstanding expression of the work that is being done. I think this is acting on this very much needed transformation and transition. But again, I am not sure this will happen at the necessary speed. So we really need to, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of responsibility and on how we want to do this, but and some cues, some key ways how to be more flexible, how to accelerate, etc. So my takeaway from this is that we are doing well, and that we are trying to do much better, and we need the help from everybody to do this to do this as soon as possible. When we speak about scalability, it's a question of velocity of something we want to do as quick as possible. I think we are overcoming definitions, and we are starting to be closer to what's needed. But we all are speaking of a city vision that has changed, especially in the last year, where this city vision has experienced a total overhaul. The city from most citizens is not seen as 1 year ago now, and not for us, but we are the actors of the change, and we need to act more quickly. So I don't know. We are hearing many words such as empowerment. We are actually speaking of power empowerment, if you allow me the repetition, and social empowerment, and many different types of empowerment. We are giving a new meaning to the word smart. Now we are speaking about smart economy. That is very clearly in the Green Deal, where it says we need to evolve to a new economy. So all these changes are absolutely needed, but this is like juggling with 11 balls. That's the maximum one person can do, juggling with 11 balls. And you really need to do it, and you only need the fixed picture. You need to see the mechanics on how that works. And if you drop one ball, you drop all of them. So we need to work in all, we need to have the intelligence to work in all the different aspects of this. And there are so many, and all of them are absolutely important. So what to say, I think the soft tools are, the real software, that is intelligence and good investments on mindsets and this type of thing are extremely important from my point of view. Energy communities are the key to the future. We really need to engage, but how can we more engaging? I mean, sometimes we engage ourselves, but we need to engage everybody in this thing. So we really I know we are passionate, but we need to be more passionate, and we really need to have everybody experience the need to jump on this thing, because they see it as a very attractive thing. So we one slide I like to show is imagine we are living in one single home with one single envelope. We are so used to imagine that we live so separately, but in the end, the envelope of each one of our homes is the very same thing in terms of concept. And we live in a virtual world, so we can easily imagine that the envelopes of our building are real common infrastructure, and we can work on that together. If we can communicate this idea, I think it would be great. So, Augusta, you're asking too much from one person to really summarize this. I think from the audience, I think a need to evolve, and this shows in the polls, where you have, connection, citizen relationship is the key point for PED, or positive energy district success. And in Mark's poll, where you see that behavior is the key thing. The second is building related energy consumption and so on. So I'm seeing a very clear evolution. The audience wants to hear that, so we should provide this. There is a thirst for this type of evolution, this new vision. So
yeah. Great, Emilio. It was perfect.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
It is. I mean, there are so many good ideas, so much intelligence into this, and so much will and enthusiasm that is very difficult. I'm just doing my interpretation on this, but I hope it works.
All the intelligence that was shared here today, all of this is recorded, so we'll be able to watch it again. And Sustainable Places is also about connecting people and putting people in contact one with the others. The questions we have received that were already asked to a specific person, will be sure to connect this with the person who asked the question, so you can follow up from them there and create this new innovative world. So we have reached the end of this workshop. Thank you, Emilio, for sharing all this, and thank you for all the speakers for the wonderful presentations.
Thank everybody.
And it's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Have a good
everyone.
day. Goodbye.